The moment I realized I had lost her didn't happen during a fight. There was no dramatic breakup, no slammed doors, no shouting. It happened on a quiet Tuesday night while I was sitting alone in my apartment eating takeout. Her name popped up on my phone. Not a message, just a memory notification. A photo from 2 years earlier. We were standing at a street fair downtown, both laughing about something I can't even remember now. She was holding a paper cup of lemonade and squinting in the sun, her hair blowing across her face. Back then, I thought she would always be there, which is exactly why I never made time for her. I told myself I was busy building something important. My career, my future, my independence. And every time she asked if we could spend more time together, I had the same answer. I'm just really busy right now. At the time, it sounded reasonable, responsible even. But the truth is, it was easier to say I was busy than to admit I didn't know how to prioritize someone else's heart. Emily was patient. Too patient. She didn't demand attention. She didn't argue when I canceled plans. She didn't make me feel guilty when work came first. And because she never forced the issue, I kept assuming she would always be there waiting, until the day she wasn't. I remember the exact moment she told me. We were sitting in the same coffee shop where we had our first date. She looked calm, not angry, not sad, just calm. "I think I need to stop waiting for you," she said softly. At first, I didn't take it seriously. I thought she was frustrated. People say things like that sometimes. But then she stood up, hugged me gently, and walked out of the cafe. And something inside me felt different. Not dramatic, not painful, just unfamiliar. For the first time in 3 years, Emily didn't look back. I finished my coffee, checked my emails, went back to work. Because at the time, I still believed something dangerous. I believed she would come back. But 3 months later, sitting alone with that memory photo glowing on my screen, I finally understood something that should have been obvious from the beginning. She hadn't been asking for more time. She had been asking to matter. And I had been too busy to notice. When I met Emily, my life was moving at full speed. I had just started a new job at a fast-growing tech company. The kind of job where everyone talks about ambition like it's oxygen. Long hours weren't just expected, they were celebrated. People bragged about sleeping in the office, missing birthdays, working through weekends. And honestly, I loved it. I loved the pressure, the sense that everything I was doing mattered. Emily entered my life almost by accident. We met at a friend's barbecue one summer evening. She was standing near the grill, talking to someone about hiking trails when our mutual friend introduced us. She had this calm presence that immediately slowed everything down around her. While everyone else at the party seemed loud and energetic, Emily felt grounded. She asked thoughtful questions, listened carefully. And when she laughed, it felt genuine in a way that made you want to keep talking. Our first few dates were simple. Coffee after work, walks through the park, late-night conversations about music and books. At first, balancing work and the relationship felt manageable. But as months passed, my career demands grew heavier. New projects, new deadlines, new expectations. And every time my schedule became overwhelming, Emily was the one thing I felt safe postponing. Not because she wasn't important, but because she understood. Or at least, I thought she did. If I canceled dinner, she would smile and say, "Another time." If I worked late, she would send a quick text wishing me luck. She never complained, and that made it easy to convince myself everything was fine. But relationships aren't built on patience alone. They're built on presence. And I was rarely present. Looking back now, I can see the small moments where things started changing. The way she stopped suggesting weekend trips. The way her messages became shorter. The way she stopped asking when I'd be free. At the time, I interpreted it as independence. Now I know it was something else. She was slowly learning how to live without me. The strange thing about losing someone slowly is that you don't notice it happening. There's no clear moment where everything shifts. Just small changes that feel insignificant until they add up to something permanent. The first real sign appeared when Emily stopped adjusting her schedule for mine. One Friday afternoon, I called her around 6. "Hey," I said, "want to grab dinner?" There was a pause. "I can't tonight," she replied. I frowned. Emily almost always said yes. "What are you doing?" I already made plans. Her tone was calm, not defensive, just factual. For some reason, that bothered me. "Can you reschedule?" I asked. Another pause. "No." The word wasn't harsh, but it was firm. That night I went home feeling strangely unsettled. Not because she had plans, but because for the first time, I wasn't the one controlling the timing of our relationship. Over the next few weeks, the pattern continued. She stopped waiting for me to suggest plans. She stopped rearranging her life around my schedule. If I asked to meet last minute, sometimes she said no. And every time she said it calmly. Without guilt, without explanation. The dynamic was shifting, and I didn't know how to react. Part of me felt irritated. Another part felt uneasy, because the truth was becoming harder to ignore. Emily wasn't trying to force me to choose her. She was simply choosing herself. And the moment that realization fully hit me came on a rainy Sunday afternoon. I showed up at her apartment unannounced, something I'd done many times before. But when she opened the door, the look on her face told me everything had changed. She wasn't surprised. She wasn't excited. She just looked distant. "Hey," I said awkwardly. "Hey, can I come in?" She hesitated, then shook her head gently. "I'm actually heading out." "Where?" "Out." She grabbed her jacket, locked the door behind her, and walked down the stairs without inviting me along. For the first time since we met, I realized I no longer had a guaranteed place in her life. The final conversation happened a week later. Emily asked to meet at the same cafe where we had our first date. When I arrived, she was already sitting at a small table near the window. Her coffee was untouched. She looked calm. Too calm. "Hey," I said. "Hi." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she took a slow breath. "I've been doing a lot of thinking." That sentence alone made my chest tighten. "About us?" I asked. She nodded. I realized something important. I tried to keep my voice steady. "What?" Emily looked directly at me. For 3 years, I kept waiting for the moment when you'd finally have time for a real relationship. My stomach dropped. "And?" I asked quietly. "And I don't think that moment is coming." I opened my mouth to respond, but she raised her hand gently. "Let me finish." Her voice wasn't angry. If anything, it sounded peaceful. "You're not a bad person," she said. "You're just living a life where love is optional." The words landed like a weight. And I deserve to be with someone who doesn't treat it that way. I suddenly felt defensive. "I told you my job is demanding." "I know. I'm building something." "I know." Her calm agreement made everything worse. "Then why are you acting like I don't care?" I asked. Emily leaned back in her chair. "Because caring and prioritizing are two different things." Silence filled the space between us. Finally, she stood up. "I'm not angry," she said softly. "I'm just done waiting." She picked up her bag, and for the second time in my life, I watched her walk away. But this time, I understood exactly what it meant. The months after Emily left forced me to confront something uncomfortable. My life looked successful from the outside. The promotion came. The project succeeded. The career I had worked so hard for was finally paying off. But every night, when the work stopped and the apartment became quiet, something was missing. Not excitement, not passion. Something simpler. Presence. Emily had offered that from the very beginning, and I had treated it like something that would always be available later. One evening, about 6 months after we broke up, I ran into our mutual friend Mark. We talked for a while, and eventually he asked the question I had been avoiding. "Have you heard from Emily?" I shook my head. "She's doing well," he said. There was something gentle in his voice that made me pause. "With someone?" Mark nodded. "Yeah." For a moment, I just stared at the sidewalk. And strangely, I didn't feel anger or jealousy, just understanding. Because Emily hadn't left to punish me. She left to live. And that realization changed something inside me. Not immediately, not dramatically, but permanently. I still work hard. My career still matters to me. But I no longer believe the lie that love can simply wait until life becomes convenient. Because the truth is, the right person won't demand everything from you. They won't force you to sacrifice your dreams. But they will ask for one simple thing: to matter. And if you're too busy to give someone that, one day you might look up from your work and realize the person who once waited for you has finally stopped.